Hello and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. Today we are joined by a very special guest, the one and only Jack Pattillo.
Hello.
So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. I'm your host, Jared Hymas, and today I am joined by co-host extraordinaire James Riley. Last week, we had a chance to visit with Jonty of the Inkwell and This Week in Ink, where we talked about Set 3, his perspective of Lorcana as a local game store owner. Lots of interesting stuff. He had a great advice for content creators. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, make sure to go back and check it out. And today, we are joined by a very special guest, Jack Pattillo. And yes, I checked beforehand how you pronounce it. Jack, how did I do? Welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. Yes, you nailed it. Jack Pattillo. I get Pattillo all the time. People see the double L and they think tortilla, and it's like, no, that's not how it works. So, fun fact for you: there's no double T in Spanish. So there you go. Anyway, I'm doing all right. It's been a rocky week or so for me on a personal side of things, but I mean, for the most part, things are going pretty well, and I'm happy to be here on your podcast talking all things Lorcana and whatever else you have thrown my way.
Yeah, we've been talking Lorcana for over a year now, and I just can't believe we're here. We're at Set 3, and we have Set Championships coming up next month. It's going to be awesome. So we like to start our podcast with a little segment called Deck, Tech, and Specs. So if you were going to locals this week, what are you taking?
Oh man, that is a fantastic question. What am I taking? My charming wit and my horrible aggro deck that I have not updated. No, I mean, I don't know if I was getting serious about it. It seems like Ruby Amethyst right now is still like top tier. That's what everyone's going with, and even with locations and stuff, people are still pushing things around with Ruby Amethyst. So I mean, if I'm going like Sweat Lord style over this thing and I'm actually trying to win it, yeah. If I'm going for Stitch, I think maybe Ruby Amethyst is the way to go. If I had my full play sets of everything in that deck, but for the most part, when I go to tournaments or when I go to league stuff, I'm there to have a good time. I'm just there crossing my fingers that maybe I get one of the 5 or 6 promo cards going out. In the leagues I've gone to here in Austin, I don't get a chance to really go to any on a regular occasion, but the ones I have gone to have always been super friendly, and it's usually there's like 1 or 2 sort of competitive players, and then like 15 people are just there just to hang out with their buddies. And so I'm more in that school of thinking as opposed to the I'm here to win. It's like, no, I just want to have fun with it
until it's time for that Stitch, right?
Man, I am so sad. If there was a caster Olympics or something that I had a chance to actually get a Stitch, that would be so cool. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever see that Stitch. I'm sure I will cast tournaments where Stitch is one, but as far as actually getting my hands on one, that'll be as close as I ever get to one. Maybe showing it off when we cast a tournament or something. But as far as actually obtaining one, I don't think. I mean, what are the? Do you guys have estimates on how much the thing's going to run for? Because there's going to be people who go to multiple tournaments, win multiple copies of it, and then take it to eBay or TCG Player somewhere. It's got to be over 1,000, right? I'm guessing.
It's kind of. I've been keeping in mind what people are estimating, and I've seen estimates anywhere from like $400 to over $1,000.
Yeah,
I would assume that it's going to be roughly the same as the current champion of Enchanted's, the Elsa, which is hovering around $700.
Yep. She's fluctuated. Actually, I have one of her. She was the second Enchanted I ever pulled, and
nice.
It was my wife pulled a big Tink, and then 4 packs later I pulled an Elsa on a different day, and it was just very, very lucky. And so
awesome.
But yeah, but really, other than the D23 original promos, I mean, like, I can't imagine anything being anywhere near the cost of that Stitch, and it makes me sad because I wanted this to be the game where it's like, we don't really care about scalpers and big eBay people. We want to give product to everyone, and then they didn't change the rate of Enchanteds when they added 6 more Enchanteds into Inklands, and then I opened a box on opening night and didn't get a single Enchanted out of 4 boxes. I opened a case, 0 Enchanteds. Anyway, that's my own issues, but. I've like 150 packs in Inklands, 0 Enchanteds as of this point.
That's rough. That's rough. Okay, well, first of all, high five on accepting the fact that we're probably not going to get a Stitch. James is still over there he's probably going to get a stitch. He is
Oh
gunning
yeah,
for this.
I'm
But
in
second of
training.
all,
I'm running the marathons. I'm doing the 10Ks. I've got everything going. I'm trying as
the
hard as
weight
I can.
set.
nice,
But
nice.
but second of all, don't you think? I mean, you've been involved with TCGs a little bit before. Don't you think the competitive players need a carrot like this dangled before them to help keep the game alive and healthy?
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it does make sense because there are some competitive players. Like even when the Lumineers and I've been casting, we've seen a lot of the the top eights. We've always seen like Magic the Gathering players coming in, like people who played or professional like Yu-Gi-Oh players or Magic players dropping into Lorcana, being like, oh, this is a new game, and you see some really top players coming from those backgrounds. And so the idea of having something like you said, like a carrot on a stick to kind of keep them interested, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, honestly, I'm waiting for them to announce more information as far as the actual sort of like regionals and nationals and worlds, because if they don't for some reason host the finals at Disney World, what is this even about? Like I feel like. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is something where it's like you could even set up a stage in front of Cinderella's castle in Magic Kingdom in Orlando and play a game right there and have this amazing backdrop, and people are like, "What is this? I want. What is this? I want to buy this." And even so, like right now, one of the places you can actually get Lorcana pretty consistently, even when it was pretty tough, was World of Disney at Disney Springs in Orlando. Like they're pushing it, so Disney is giving it a push. But I feel like they're. I feel like Inklands now, we're seeing more and more products staying on shelves than we were during Floodborne and First Chapter, and so I'm not. There's no alarms going off yet, but it's like okay. Well, like we're seeing the fact that Ruby Amethyst is still the meta, even with a whole new set, doesn't bode well. But with set 4, hopefully we're going to get something new that will really shake things up, and hopefully we get to a point where we get more of a rock paper scissors type situation where there's multiple decks competing against multiple decks. But until then, I am nervous that it is just going to be one thing overpowering the others. Like who can drive the same deck better than somebody else? So I would like to see more diversity in it, but we'll see. I mean, I think I'm not giving up on it yet. We're only 6 months in at this point, a little bit more than 6 months in at this point. So I think there's plenty of opportunity to make it really, really great.
I think Inklands definitely brought in enough stuff to make the other inks viable for competing against Ruby Amethyst. I think it actually brought a lot of them up to that level. I think the issue is that most of those other decks are needing to be piloted very, very well, and Ruby Amethyst is not a deck that needs to that forgives errors.
Yeah,
it's not something that you have to pilot perfectly for it to work well. So I think that's the issue that we have right now.
Because I will say, my ink Sapphire right now, Sapphire Ruby, that's a bueno deck. And also, James is working on a Sapphire. James and Eric are working on a Sapphire Steel deck. And both of those, I think, are going to be able to compete with Ruby Amethyst. When I play against Ruby Amethyst with my Sapphire Ruby deck, well, not mine. It was made by a YouTuber. It does very good. Very good. So,
okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll just be happy to see some more variants because, as a caster, seeing mirror matches just over and over and over again, it's like that's not fun. We want some things, we want people to surprise us with stuff where it's like, whoa, who thought of that? That was a cool combination. Like I never would have thought to play that card. It's like, oh, hey, look, it's okay, be prepared. Oh, here's a Lady Tremaine, got it again. And it's like, all right, you kind of see the same techniques over and over again. So
the fancy casting in those ones is like this guy uses 2 Tremaines and a Dragonfire instead of 3 Tremaines. Let's talk about that for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was one of those things I almost feel like in our overlays when we do tournaments, like we should just have a be prepared counter. Like, all right, like reset the counter, new match, here we go. We got 8 on the table.
Like a running tally of the day, how many times that card gets played.
Yeah,
that'd be funny.
Oh, it's rough. Well, so before we get too much further into Lorcana, I've heard that you are a Disney park enthusiast, as am I. So, which is your favorite park, and why is it Disneyland? But
Oh man, I hate to break it to you, but I am an Orlando kid at heart. I am a Disney World kid at heart. I've been to both parks, obviously. I actually went to Anaheim last year, as a matter of fact. Had a really good time with some friends of mine. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean in Anaheim is so much better than Florida, but and on Blue Bayou is great. But I grew up in going to Florida with my family, and actually back in 2002 and 2005, I did the Walt Disney World College program. So I actually worked at Walt Disney World. And I worked at the Great Movie Ride in 2002, and then I worked at the Backlot Tour in 2005. I did the water tank portion, talking about Michael Bay and Pearl Harbor. Both of those rides are gone now. One is actually the very first Mickey Mouse attraction, which is cool. So Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway replaced Great Movie Ride. So I didn't feel too bad about that. And there's also a really nice Easter egg for the Great Moving Ride inside of Mickey and Minnie's, which is awesome. And then the location where Backlot Tour used to be is now Batuu. It's now Star Wars. So that's kind of cool too. But still, I miss the my favorite thing about theme parks is I love any show or ride or attraction that is hosted that you actually see a human talking to you. And a Great Movie Ride was that. Backlot Tour was that. And right now, I feel like Kilimanjaro Safaris at Animal Kingdom and maybe one or two stage shows are pretty much the only time you get to see an actual cast member hosting something. And so that kind of breaks my heart. But yeah, I'm definitely a Florida kid. And, all the Disney parks. I mean, I grew up with Disney MGM Studios, now Disney Hollywood Studios. And I could spend a lot of time there and not get bored.
Yeah, for sure. Just go walking around, just enjoy the ambiance.
Yeah.
Go on some rides, eat some.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is like I have annual passes, so I can go and just literally not ride a single thing or ride Haunted Mansion and be totally fine with it. Like I've seen it all, I've done it all, and now I don't that stress of like I have to get all this stuff in. It's like no. Like really the only times I'm kind of going out to Florida right now is I do the Disney races, Run Disney stuff. So I was there in January doing the Disney Marathon weekend. So I ran a 5K and a marathon in January, which that's a lot of fun. If you've never done that, if you have any interest at all, excuse me, in running, the Disney Marathon is the way to do it. You actually get to run down Main Street USA. You run through all 4 parks. It's very, very cool. So it is tough though.
Yeah, get high fives from characters.
Yeah, no, they have characters all over the place. Excuse me. I'm getting excited talking about Run Disney. They bring out unique characters that you don't normally see. So like I've seen Darkwing Duck out. They had Baloo out one year. They had then last year they had the face character for Tarzan, which is wild because he's not wearing a shirt, which is like it's just a really ripped dude as Tarzan. It's like, oh, and he's never in the parks. This year they did a lot of things where they had a bunch of newer characters, so a lot of characters I didn't recognize. Like they actually had the brothers from Onward were out, which was cool. That's cool. Pixar movie that everyone forgets about. They had the new princess from Wish. She was out and like just fresh, like had just come out for the first time. Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde were both out too, which was awesome. But like Handy Manny, never heard of him before. He was there, and a whole bunch of other people. So a lot of the Disney kid stuff was out.
All right, you're making me want to run now. Funny enough, my
you should do it. You should do it.
They are huge. Like they go to Disneyland. They have the annual pass holders too. They go to Disneyland and run that marathon every year. But they never told me about like the characters out. That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. And you see, like they actually had a Wall-E out last year, so not this year, but last year they actually. I don't think it was an official Disney one. I think they had like basically hired someone who had made a life-size Wall-E. They brought it out, but I got a photo with Wall-E, which is so cool. And so anyway, but the Run Disney stuff's great. During the pandemic, everyone went through it. I kind of went through the pandemic 20 or whatever. I put on a bunch of weight, and then I was like, I used to like running. I should go running again. And so around like June, they put the Disney Marathon. They said Disney Marathon was coming back in 2021. So I'm like, I literally turned 40 on like the Wednesday of the marathon, and then like 4 or 5 days later I ran my very first marathon. And so I was like, this is a good midlife crisis and a good way to try to stay in shape. And it combines the things, combines Disney stuff, which I love, and running, which I don't love as much, but I've grown to love it now. So that was a good carrot on a stick.
I love it. Okay, so we're gonna bring this back around to Lorcana here.
Sorry, you got me talking theme parks, man.
I love it. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I love theme parks too. So does James. But we're here to talk Lorcana today. So where did your initial interest in Lorcana stem from? Was it like your affinity for all things Disney?
It was it was a sheer luck kind of situation. So I'd heard about Lorcana, like, you know, I worked for a group called Inside Gaming. We used to do like news coverage of stuff, and we talked about like the Indianapolis convention where a bunch of Lorcana cards were stolen. And so I knew this Disney card game thing. I knew it was a thing, but I didn't really, like, for some reason I never grasped it. And then I had a friend of mine was in town, and he was telling me he lives in Seattle, and he was saying that he was looking for a job at Wizards of the Coast, the guys who do Magic the Gathering. And he's like, I've never actually played Magic though. Like, do you want to, is there any somewhere you could like teach me about this? And I'm like, oh, there's a card shop up the street, so, you know, by UT. So I was like, let's go check out this card shop. And we went in, all this Magic stuff on the wall, the Pokemon stuff was on the wall, and I was like, oh yeah, there's actually like this new Disney card game coming out. It's like a Magic, but it's Disney. It's called Lorcana, but I guess they don't have it. And then the guy behind the counter, the guy working there, he's like, oh no, we have it, but it's back behind the counter. Because it just came out yesterday. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so unbeknownst to me at the time, I bought a starter pack for $40 because I didn't know. And, you know, hindsight's 2020. Anyway, so I bought a starter pack and I bought 2 boosters at $15 a piece. And then opened them up, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. And so I went home and showed my wife, because she loves card games. She loves board games. And I was like, oh, it's like Disney, but it's like a game we can play versus each other. And she's like, oh, well, I want a starter deck too. So we went back to the same place, bought another starter deck, bought another 2 packs, and opened those up. And then we started kind of like playing against each other with the starter decks. And I was like, this is actually kind of fun. Watched a bunch of videos on, like, you know, the gentleman who's one of the co-creators of it explaining how to play the game. We watched those and we started playing. We actually we went on a vacation. We went on a cruise about a week after we did that. And so we brought our cards with us and we're playing on a cruise. And while we were there, we went to Disney, went out to Orlando, and at World of Disney, they had packs. And so we ended up buying like 4 gift sets because they had them there. And I was like, okay. And so we bought all those and got more packs and then opened them up. And I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. And kind of, you know, started enjoying it. And then really when Floodborne hit, that's when I kind of really took off with it. That's when I was like, oh, this is okay. There's a community here. And I see a lot of people playing it. Like, I went to a local game shop where they did a starter deck tournament. There's a place here in Austin called Game Castle, which I love. And they did a starter deck tournament where it was like a randomly selected starter deck, and you just played against people, and they gave out free packs to people. You had to pay to enter and stuff, but yeah, and I was like, oh, this is neat. And it was there I heard of the Illumineers for the first time. Like, they're another local Austin group, and so I heard of them. Actually played Lorcana. My very first match against not my wife was versus a 12-year-old girl named Lily. And she was the sweetest girl, and I was doing everything in my power to like make sure she was comfortable. And we played this game, and it was great. And her father came over, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Dan," and so and he's Lorcana Fanatics, which they're great on Twitter. And so Dan and I have become buddies. I played against Lily multiple times now. She's so good, and I hope they do a youth league, because she would crush. But like, I just started meeting these different people who had kind of established themselves in the community, and I was like, wow, everyone here is so friendly and so welcoming and so nice. And so I kind of just fell into it, and I started, you know, getting more into it. I started doing card breaks on my Twitch channel, and then I thought about it, and I've always wanted to do casting. I've always been interested in casting. Like, I grew up in Texas, football always a thing, and I used to listen to radio broadcasts of football, and I loved, like, we have a guy in Austin named Craig Way who's done the voice of the Longhorn stuff for ages, and he has this incredible voice, and his way to like tell a story without even watching something. And so casting has always been something I was fascinated with. And so I was like, oh, well, I feel like I know enough about Lorcana that I could probably hold my own a little bit. And then I was talking with my friends at Game Castle, and they're like, oh, we have an event coming up at IkiCon, which is like a local anime show. And would you be interested in casting with the Illumineers? And I was like, okay. And so we literally, for the first time ever, met face to face. I met Liam at IkiCon, and we casted this tournament and had a really great time with it. And went really, really well, because he's super knowledgeable about the actual tech of the game and like the mechanics of the game, and I'm super knowledgeable on the Disney side of things, and kind of keeping it interesting and asking him questions and just kind of keeping this nice flow back and forth. And we just became buddies. And so Liam and Aaron and I, we went to Houston and did another tournament. We've done a couple online. And so it's something that's kind of taken off. And I feel like it's something that I can contribute to and not feel like a fraud. Like I feel like I know enough about doing this stuff, and I know enough about what I'm doing to actually make it sound interesting, and also kind of like, you know, show that I'm not just like we talked about it before, but I'm not trying to elbow my way into this community. I want to show that I'm earning my way up through this. Like, this isn't something I just want to be like, hi, I've got a bunch of followers on Twitter, you should let me cast. Like, no, I want you to let me cast because I'm doing a good job with it, you know. And so I've been very wary of that, and I've been having a great time, and I hope to get to do more of that. That was a long-winded answer for how did you get into Lorcana, but I hope I at least hit it somewhere in there.
Well, I want to take a piece of that. You said that you played against your wife until you finally did get to go to a shop and play some other people. Is your wife still playing? Does she go to the shops with you to play? And has she gotten into other TCGs because of this?
She plays every now and then. So we went to another Inklands starter deck tournament. So for the Inklands starter deck tournament, she came, and she's been participating. She's not as enthusiastic about it as I am, but she still has fun with it. And so, but as far as other games, not really. Nothing has caught our eye yet, but now now getting into this kind of space, I'm seeing like Magic stuff as well, and like they're releasing a Magic Assassin's Creed set soon, and I'm like, ooh, okay, because I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, and like the Fallout stuff just came out, and so I usually buy one collector booster of whatever the Magic set is. That I feel like they release a new one every month, and
yeah.
That's the one thing too. It's like it's hard to even think about getting into Magic just because there's something like 32,000 Magic cards that exist, whereas Lorcana there's 612, and so it's like I can wrap my head around 612. Like
yeah.
I can't wrap my head around 30,000 and in 3 decades worth of lore and backstory. So I'm happy to be in early on with Lorcana.
Well, I just have to say, it sounds like Austin is like a little Lorcana mecca down there. I mean, every person that you said down there are names that I recognize. James and I met Liam at Gamma when we went there a couple years ago. Haven't met Aaron in person, but like we've talked to her over Zoom. Lovely person. Dan and Lily. Oh my gosh, like Austin and Seattle, I think, are the current meccas of Lorcana.
It's wild, man.
North
like
America.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, like there's a few people, like, because even when we went to our tournament down in Houston, like the Austin contingent of players that went down was pretty heavy, and there's a lot of really, really strong players in the Austin area. Like some that I'm like, okay, like there's a gentleman named Aaron who's like, yeah, he's gonna do well when the regionals hit. Like I consistently see him in top 8s. Across local tournaments. Like there was just one in College Station this past weekend, which is about 2 hours east of Austin. And like, you know, that's the good thing about Austin too. Within Texas, you are 3 hours away from Dallas, Fort Worth, 2 hours away from Houston, an hour away from San Antonio, like all the major cities, like you can get to pretty easily. So being central is super nice to, you know, if you're looking to compete, that's the place to be. And so it's also good for us because, you know, if we want to cast stuff, driving 3 hours to go, you know, to Dallas is not that big of a deal. You know, maybe crash one night in a hotel. But you know, we're Liam and Aaron and I now are working on our remote kits. It's like, okay, I want to be able to get everything to fit into a box that I can just throw. Like theoretically, I want to get a suitcase that I can throw it onto a plane and just be able to fly anywhere and do a show. So we'll see. We're not there yet. We're working on it. I'm still refining the setup, but it's getting there for sure.
So as a traveling photographer for a short time, it is rough taking equipment. A suitcase, yes, is very good, but also consider something that like in the shape of like a golf bag, but as a long suitcase that you can take, because there may be some things you have, like especially if you have to set up cameras and other equipment, you may have tripods and things like that require just a little bit more room. So
that is true.
That was what we had to use, a rolling bag, basically, that like was like a golf bag almost.
Yeah, I almost think of like, I'm, you know, if I ever get to the point where we lock it down, know exactly what we need, I might end up buying a Pelican case, like a really nice rugged one where I can like get foam inserts and stuff and make it fit exactly how I want and then lock it up. So, but we'll see. We're not there yet. Hopefully, you know, the team at Ravensburger will see our casting and be like, hey, you guys. We want to work with y'all more often. So that's the goal right now. It's like we're casting, we're doing all these things, we're doing all these shows, and we're having a great time doing it. But it is certainly one of those things where it's like, like there's not, I don't want anyone to think there's money in this. There's no money in this yet, at least not on my end. And so we just do it for the love of it right now. But it's one of those things where like, hey, I want people to see that there is an awesome community out there, and we want to bring high quality casting. And so if it ever does come up to a point where it's like, I'm in the video game world, so I see like League of Legends tournaments and Rainbow Six Siege, and I see these giant stadiums and like these giant casts. I was like, that's where I want to be. I want Lorcana to be something like that. And so maybe someday, maybe then I'll get paid. But for now, I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at.
We've had Eric from the Gamer on, and he went to the Pokemon World Championship in I think it was Tokyo last year, and he was just talking about how the whole city just went out. Like they changed the manhole covers. They had a freaking SSN ship where they had different events you can play. So I would love to see that too. Absolutely. Now you've laid out to us how you got started into casting, what kind of you hope for, but in the end, like what's the ultimate goal? Are you hoping to cast for like organized play events? What's the vision there?
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream, right? Like the dream for me is an official tournament happening at Disney World, and me and Liam and Aaron at a commentary table watching it happen and casting it live out to the world. Like that would be super, super awesome. And so, right now, like, yeah, I mean, it'd be great. And I honestly, like at this point, there's a few casters out there right now, and I keep an eye on all of them, and like everyone's doing a great job. And so it's really about just, showing your quality, showing what you can do, and showing that you can entertain people. Because, card games, like if you don't know what it is, if you're not into it, can be a little bit not tedious, but like as you get a little bit further into it, they can start slowing down. And so if you're not entertaining people while maybe a challenge is happening or a judge is being called or something like that, if you're just kind of sitting there being quiet, you're going to bore people, And so the key for me is all about keeping that entertainment value going and keeping it where people are interested in what's happening, or maybe explaining it to people. Like that it works out really well with Liam and Liam and Aaron and I, where they know the game so well, and I'm still pretty much a rookie when it comes to actual mechanics of it. And so they can explain what happens. Like I'll see something and be like, maybe someone at home and me don't know what's happening right now. Can you tell me what's going on? And then they're really great about getting into the depth of it, and it works out really, really well. And so that's really the key of it, is just keeping banter going. I mean, these things can be pretty long. Like the Houston tournament we did, I think we casted almost 12 hours over 2 days, and so drinking lots of water is important. But I mean, as far as the goal, yeah, I mean, being able to casting the official tournaments would be fantastic. I mean, I don't know what the plan is. I don't think anyone knows what the plan is. Maybe a handful of folks at Ravensburger, but hopefully, I know they are active in the community. From what I understand, they've watched some of our stuff. I haven't heard directly from any of them. If anybody there is watching right now, you're welcome to hit me up on email. I'd love to talk to you guys. But yeah, I mean, it would be great. It would be so cool to actually get to do an official version of this. Then I can, wear my suit jacket and my Lorcana shirt underneath it, and then cast the heck out of a tournament.
You mentioned 12 hours over 2 days. I mean, there's not something happening all 12 hours. And you mentioned that, keeping it interesting. What are some things maybe that you do that help to fill the time or to make it more entertaining than just discussing, what's happening in the game itself?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, thankfully for me, the Illuminateers, those guys are just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the artistry of Lorcana, which is one of the big draws about Lorcana is how beautiful some of the art is. And they have so many friends in that realm. Like, they are friends with so many of the artists within Lorcana that for us, it was a lot of me, like, we have, when we do casting stuff, we have some tools, including one where I can actually show cards. Like, we can pull up cards and, like, bring them up on screen. So a lot of the time we'd be like, hey, let's talk about some cards. Let's talk about, like we'll talk with chat and be like, hey, what do you guys want to see? What is your favorite, card out there? What's your favorite art? And we can bring it up, talk about it, and usually, honestly, kill some time like that. And, because typically you'll get, like, if a round ends, if you have, like, 2 aggressive decks, you have a round in maybe 30 minutes. You've got another at least half hour before the next rounds begin. So it's like, all right, It's time to talk for 30 minutes. Hey, what do you think would be the next? What do you think would be the coolest thing to add to Lorcana? Like, what's your favorite IP that's not in Lorcana yet? What is your favorite IP that is in Lorcana right now? And you see, so you start kind of talking about stuff like that. I do my best to get our community involved as well, because a lot of people watch live, and so when you start calling out the people in chat, they start noticing that. And then you start getting this rapport. You start recognizing the same people over and over again, because those people will come back like, oh, hey, you're casting again. I enjoyed watching you before. I want to see you cast again. And so it's like, okay. And so you start building this community up. And then that's the idea, that you could actually take a community with you anytime you're casting something. And so they know who you are, and they want to hear about it. And so it's like, oh, okay, I like hearing the Illumineers and Jack cast, so I will watch this. I might not care about this tournament, but I will watch it at least, for the entertainment value of it. So, but yeah, I mean, like I've been in the entertainment industry. I've been doing podcasts for over a decade now. So when it comes to banter, I am a professional. I could almost talk to a brick wall by myself for about an hour before I'd really be struggling. So I can usually find things to talk about.
Well, and like you said, Liam is just full of like tidbits of information that are like germane to Lorcana, but the general public may just not know. Whether it's the art, whether it's the design process, whether it's something somebody said, he's just a wealth of information for sure.
Yeah, and also we were really great too, where Aaron was able to pull some of the actual competitors to come talk to us in between rounds as well. So that's always fun too, because it also gives the guys who were there playing a chance to kind of like show themselves off, like to be like, hey, I'm in this tournament too, and start getting their names out there as well. Because a lot of these guys, a lot of the top 8 players, a lot of the top tier players are also streaming on their own channels. And they're also doing more content online. So if they see that a tournament is being casted, they might be more likely to go to it. They're like, oh, there's a chance I could be on the premiere or on the main stage. I will go to that one to try to do that so people can see my play. And so even when we did Houston, the players, the top 8 cut, so they split the prize, but they still wanted to play it out to see who the winner was going to be, because they wanted the opportunity to show the top 8, so have 3 more rounds of matches. And so it's like, okay, that's cool, I appreciate that, and it makes it great for us. Like at that point the stakes are kind of gone, but still, it's fun to see like who's going to win, who's going to be the winner. There is no World Series of Poker bracelet right now for Lorcana tournaments, but I hope they figure out something that could be like anytime 1K happens, like someone gets something for winning, and then you can start amassing a wall of something. I don't know, maybe like the shoulder magnet things or something. We could do something with it, But yeah, it's fun, and I think casting also adds a really cool element to it that people get excited for.
All right, so let's talk about set 3. Now that the dust has settled, what are you loving about Into the Inklands, and what are you just kind of liking about it?
I love locations. I think locations are currently being slept on, and I think maybe not this set, but I feel like with a couple buffs, locations could be a huge meta changer. Right now, locations, basically almost all of them get knocked out by Maui, but I think at some point, like there's going to be, it's one of those things where like people just kind of forget about them, and then suddenly you look up and you're playing against 4 locations, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, and there's like racking up lore. And so I think that is something that people are gonna figure out how it works better. I think that's, I know when I played with them, I enjoy it. Like all the Sapphire locations are great. Like being able to get more ink that way is really cool, and you can suddenly ramp up your inks very quickly with Sapphire locations. But I think locations, it was a really cool addition. I'm curious why it took to the 3rd set. I wonder if they're just kind of dripping out mechanics. But now, from what I understand, the first 3 sets up to Inklands were made before the game was even released. So now we're getting into set 4. You're going to start seeing sort of the responses. So you can see like, oh, maybe this was a problem in the first set, so now we're going to make this 4th set, which will kind of parry that in some way. And so we're going to start seeing that like with sets 4, 5, and 6, where it's like, oh, okay, so these are being developed while the game was out. And so I'm curious to see the sort of difference and effect with those. But as far as things I'm not so happy about, again, we talked about it before, but the enchanted pull rates, what the hell? I feel they added. So I jokingly, my wife loves Treasure Planet. And so we saw, John Silver was in the first one. He was the first legend, or not. He wasn't a legendary. I think he was an ultra rare. But we pulled him early on. I was like, oh my gosh, John Silver. And Katie's like, my wife, she was like, there's Treasure Planet in this. I'm like, yeah, there is. And then there was no Treasure Planet in the second, in Floodborne. But then Inklands comes out, tons of amazing Treasure Planet characters. Morph comes out. It's like, oh my gosh, we love Morph. And I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool if we got a Morph Enchanted. We got a Morph Enchanted. And so now, I'm trying to pull a Morph Enchanted. So not only was it was going to be 1 in 12. You have a 1 in 12. So basically a 1 in 96 chance to get an Enchanted, and then a 1 in 12 chance to get the one you want. No. Now it's a 1 in 96 and then a 1 in 16 chance. So they add the extras on. Anyway, but then I got my case. I went through my 96. I still got 0. And then I've now opened another. I'm a little salty when it comes to Enchanteds and Inklands right now. But so the pull rates of that would have been great if they would have bumped those up. Yeah. but other than that, I'm really happy with it. I wish there was something that would have had been a bigger combatant against Ruby Amethyst, but maybe it's out there. Maybe we just don't know it yet. Maybe someone's working on a deck right now that's going to crack the Ruby Amethyst gauntlet, or I guess Titan out there right now, and just like, let's knock that thing off its pedestal and see some cool mixtures. Like I want to see more. And like Emerald Steel right now is my favorite. Like that's my most interesting deck, like the discard decks. I'm a big fan of watching people manipulate other people's hands and like ruining your day. When you see a couple Buckies hit the play field, it's like, oh, this is going to be interesting. Here we go. And then just watching people's hands get decimated is great. I love that kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah. Chaos is great. Chaos. It makes for some interesting casting too.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know is that Ruby Amethyst, I think, someday is going to get taken down for sure. It's definitely not with this set. We can see that there's other decks that can compete, like Emerald Steel can compete with it now, at least, instead of being at least a tier below or further back. It's definitely a lot closer. I was listening to the Forbidden Mountain. He said that at the SGC Con up in Philly this last weekend, which was dominated by Ruby Amethyst, but that was just on the winning side. He said that Ruby Amethyst actually was only about 20% of the decks taken.
Oh, wow.
Based on what he would when walking around and looking. So it's a lot. People are trying other things. It's just they had some really good Ruby Amethyst players there that really dominated the event. So yeah. I think we're going to see at other events, like on the third day, I think Amber Steel actually won the 1K on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So I know that we're going to be seeing other things win. It's just, I think we're also going to just continue to see Ruby Amethyst. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, it's still going to be one of the top decks.
Yeah. I am curious if they'll ever add like an interrupt or like an anti-song, like if they have like an Ursula's Binding Agreement where like someone plays a song and then you could drop something, like, if that'll ever become a mechanic or if they're going to avoid something along those lines.
That's basically instant kind of things in Magic. And from what I understand, I don't think they really want to do that.
Okay.
Which you mentioned earlier, they like about bringing locations, waiting till set 3. They did say that they wanted the game to be progressively not start difficult, not start hard to teach, keep it simple, and that's why locations were left until set 3 to introduce another new mechanic. And they said they're not even going to introduce a new mechanic every set.
Yeah.
So what we're going to see, I think, is that if something like an instant ever comes in, I would expect it not to be for years.
Yeah.
Because it's just, they want the game, they want everyone to grow with the game. And remember, this is going to be, it's Disney, so they're assuming that it's going to bring in a lot more families and kids. And if it's my first TCG, they don't want it to be as you mentioned, 32,000 cards complicated like Magic is.
Yeah.
So they have to keep it at least on this side of complicated for as long as possible.
Yeah, and they've been really great about it. I mean, the starter decks are actually really nice. I mean, like I collect one of every starter deck and just sleeve it up and I keep it as a starter deck. So I have, the 7 decks now that if I ever go and like someone's interested in playing, I'm like, oh, hey, you can literally pick any one and we'll go. You can pick one for me too, and we'll just play right now and I'll show you how it works. And it's been really good. And I'm glad they're doing that. And it sounds like they're adding, I believe I saw a new product they're adding either between set 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, where it's kind of like an explanation, where it's kind of like sort of teaching the steps on building a deck. And I kind of dig that too. I like that they're still thinking about it from a like, okay, we still have to introduce new people to the game even after the game's been out for a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they're not abandoning that yet. It's not just like, okay, this is for pros only. It's like, no. There's still people who are, going to find something and then maybe see a stream or see something that like interest them and then, want to be welcomed into the fold. And it's not too late to get in,
Or they see the game being played in front of Cinderella's Castle national championship.
Yeah.
Just saying. When I was a kid, I went to Disney MGM Studios and Smash Mouth was playing. They were there live recording something. Huge Smash Mouth fan. Way before Shrek came out.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's that pack that's coming out in August. That's going to be like an intro
Gateway
thing.
product.
I just think it's such a unique thing that they're going to do, where you're going to start with 30 cards, and then it's essentially based like a board game almost, because they do provide you with a board playing surface and little standee characters. And it's going to take you through the game of how to play it, and you earn like rewards of more cards as you play, like it's a deck building game. So it's going to teach you how to play the game, how to build a deck, and then at the end, you have a 60 card deck that is playable.
That's so
and
cool.
So as an introduction unit that they can throw onto the gaming shelves in like every store in America, I think it's an awesome concept. So yeah, it's definitely going to be something really cool.
Well, I think Pokemon has something like that, right? Where it's kind of like
Battle Stadium,
that battle box or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, that's super clever, and I appreciate that. I'm glad they're thinking ahead about that stuff too.
Yeah, just someday maybe we'll get some advertising for something like that, right?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to product availability. I mean, like you said, Jack, we're finally at a point where there is Into the Inklands sitting on the shelves, and you can go find it. But could you imagine set 1, set 2, if the Disney behemoth marketing machine actually went full on advertising Lorcana? Like, it would have been even worse. And maybe if they started that with Into the Inklands, maybe it would be a problem still. But right now it's satisfying the demands, and someday I feel like the full force will come behind it, and it's just gonna really take off.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it is a thing where they kind of almost intentionally like dripped it out a little bit, where like first chapter became very difficult to get, and so now we've hit a point where it's like, okay, now there's people getting into it. It's like, oh, this stuff is available. Some of the earlier stuff's not available, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past Ravensburger and Disney to reprint the first 2 sets again. Like because there's some cards in there that like are definitely staples in pretty much every deck. I mean, every competitive deck. So it's like if you're trying to get into the game now and you don't want to have to spend $40 per be prepared, it's like I'd like to just buy a box for $140 and then hopefully get one, as opposed to just buying individual cards. And so I don't know. And there's also cards here that people want to collect and like play with and get the early stuff too. And so hopefully, I mean, I from what I can tell, Ravensburger's been really good about not turning this into a magic thing where it's like, oh, we're never going to reprint these cards again. They haven't come out and said that as far as I can tell. So it's like, bring it on, man. I say load it up. Let's do it. Let's do a reprint all the time and bring out more cards.
In fact, Ryan Miller has said the opposite. He said this game is for the players and not the investors. He has said that they will reprint cards, and whether that's reprinting, set 1 product or like, in the set 3 starter decks, we have set 1 cards in them.
Yeah.
So whether they're reintroduced and things like that, I feel like they're going to work hard to get those stable cards like Flounder into future sets. So let's talk about organized play. Team Lorcana promised us organized play announcements this month. Let's see, today's March 13th. Okay, we're running out of month, Ravensburger. Okay, so this is something that's obviously of interest to you. What are you hoping for with official organized play? I mean, besides casting it, I'm talking about the actual events itself.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we see early on the locations. I hope we see for sure like organized plays. Like they're going to be, I want to know how many we're going to get, and sort of I very like want to get a very clear definition of what it's going to be. Like I don't want to be like, we're going to have regionals and then we'll have a nationals. It's like, no. How many regionals? Like, where are they going to be? Like, tell me that stuff now. Like, I mean, there's going to be players that I know are going to want to compete in these things that they're going to have to start booking flights or booking trips to these things. So it's like, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. But I hope we get a lot of information. I hope they don't just like trickle it out. I hope it's not just like, oh, well, we'll have this. Like, no. Tell me, give me a book of stuff. Let me know what's going on. I was just saying, I'm going to be curious about casting, but I mean, because, hopefully with the official announcements and stuff, they're going to do more, like they're going to build a team where it's like, this is our team for our official tournaments. And so I now have a lot more free time. So hopefully I'd be involved with that.
No, I mean, I was just going to say they made this big to-do about announcing organized play announcements in January. And sure enough, we found out about a set challenges at the end of the set. We found out about organized, but basically they said, stay tuned until March. And so many of us were like, we're hoping to plan our trips, hoping to book travel tickets. Like, I have people asking me, are you going to Gen Con? Are you going to D23? And I'm like, my travel budget is limited. So I'm waiting until I know where Disney Lorcana is going to be, because I want to be there. And same thing with like when they announce the organized play events, I also hope they talk about these fan events, because I'm really intrigued by those as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't be shocked if they end up doing something around D23, because that's in August, September, something like that, and so like that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's where the game got announced, so it would sort of be a nice cyclical thing to actually come back and do a tournament around that. And of course now, like, Lorcana, the idea, like, because of the D23 launch and this, how valuable those cards are, people are just going to be ravenous at D23. So whatever comes out Lorcana, people are going to be expecting Lorcana at D23 now. And so the idea of them not doing something there around that, like, it would blow my mind. But who knows? This is Disney we're talking about. They'll sometimes change stuff for no reason and be very confused by that. But hopefully Ravensburger has shown what they've got on their hands, and they can be like, hey, this is something that we need to embrace, and hopefully Disney's being good about it.
I think so. The Ravensburger actually had a booth at D23 for multiple years before Lorcana was announced, when they were just selling puzzles and the Villainous game. So they already have that good relationship. So I'm like 99.9% sure they're going to be there again with a booth selling. And I think that weekend, it's early August. I think it's the same week that set 5 comes out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so they're going to be there selling it.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be
You're telling me to book a ticket, James. Is that what you're telling me?
Basically. There's going to be a promo. Now, they did say after D23, with the limited nature, that they will never do that again. By that, we don't know exactly what it means, but most of us assume it means they will never make something that limited again. Not that they won't do a D23 exclusive.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because like, does that mean the promo cards will all be the same little promo icon? Because even like, was it Gen Con? They had like a special like Gen Con promo, and it's like, that's where you're going to get people going nuts. It's like, hey, let's maybe not do that, because people like me who can't make it to all the tournaments, people like me who can't go to Europe to go to conventions, it's like, I don't want to have to spend hundreds of dollars on one promo card.
I'm pretty sure they came out and said that they're not doing the individual symbols anymore.
Okay.
And that they're just going to do like one convention like per set. So if they're at D23, they're going to have that one promo. If they're at, PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia or whatever, they're going to have that exact same promo. So you'll have multiple opportunities to get that promo.
But a couple things you have to remember. They did say that they did not rule out that they would never do an event exclusive again, just that it is not their preferred method going forward. And the other thing they said is that they will never require a ticket, like an other event purchase, to participate in one of their tournaments, which means if they do an event at D23, if they hold a tournament that weekend, it will not be inside the convention center that requires a D23 ticket. It will be outside the convention center as a separate event during D23. So they will have probably promos inside. I'm fairly sure that there will probably be two things there. The generic set promo for that particular set that has that two, little play symbol, whatever the promo symbol is. And then I think they're actually going to do something D23 exclusive, whether that's like you can get a trove that's exclusive to that, where it's just like the packaging looks a little different, but there's nothing actually in it that's exclusive.
I don't know, James. I don't know.
Oh God, troves are so hard
but not
already.
Limited. But not limited,
But even not limited, but at one convention that you can go to, that makes it limited. So
I would be very surprised if that was the case.
That's the thing that I think that is sometimes a disconnect for vendors at conventions. Is like, no, we made like thousands of them. Don't worry. It's like, well, there's tens of thousands of people across the world who want it, and only a few thousand can get to that convention. That's the problem. Not that you made it available to everyone going to the convention, but then the other flip side is they want to reward the people who make it to the convention. The people who go, they don't need, but it's always fun to have something that, look what I got while I was there. I got this experience. I got this item. I got this shirt, whatever it may be. So there's always that fine line they have to walk between.
After D23, after Gen Con, after Gamescom, after whatever the other one was, Spiel, after the crushing crowds of people trying to get these promos and the bad publicity that went with it, you honestly think they're gonna do that again?
It's entirely possible, yes, because it's D23.
Okay, all right.
It could be you get
we'll have to place a
bag with purchase. It could be just a bag. Like some places the WB does those bags for Comic-Con where there's like 12 different designs and they hand them out for free. But people that weekend, people will still pay $20 for those bags. And it's just like they handed out 100,000 bags, but people still want them. So it could be something as simple as that. And yet it'll still be something that people want.
Okay, I think they just flip it and then they make a D23 exclusive limited to 200 enchanted promos, and then just like get stupid with it. Like, why not? Just it's Mickey Mouse and it's an enchanted and it's a promo and you can't get it anywhere and it's a 7th color. Why not? It's a rainbow color. You can put it in any deck. Let's burn it all down.
Now, what I can almost guarantee is that the event, I'm almost like 99% sure they're going to hold a tournament during D23 weekend.
Oh yeah. That feels like that's a thing somewhere. For sure. I mean, even if you're just a game card game shop in that area, how do you not? I mean, like, because there's going to be people in town specifically to go to D23, specifically for Lorcana. If I have a game shop, a card shop in Anaheim, I'm booking it right now. Like we're gonna do an 8K tournament featuring whoever can be here. Sign up as many people. Like run out a small place.
I think Ravensburger's going to run an official OP tournament that weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will. But I'm saying if they're not, I mean, there's going to be someone filling in that gap for sure.
But if they do, I think that's where you're going to get something rather exclusive, because I think the winners will get something stamped with D23 as well.
Yeah. Maybe the casters too,
or something. So It's going to be crazy that weekend. I think that and Gen Con, because Gen Con's the week either before or after. They're 1 week apart.
Oh wow,
it's horrible. I mean, everyone's like having to like weigh which one they're actually going to go to.
That's what I'm waiting for.
So
D23 would be a lot easier though.
It would be. I mean, I already booked the hotel for it, so I just got to wait for tickets in like 2 weeks.
You got room for one more?
You got a couch that a caster could crash on.
Right. No, I don't even stay. I stay at home during D23, man. I get a hotel.
Oh, that's right.
There.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
No, it's not worth coming and going from home, because that's like what 12 minutes that I lose in line.
Wow, that's hardcore right there.
Right. All right. What are we on to next, Jared?
All right, Jack. So I know, this is the part where we typically ask fellow content creators if they have any advice. So you are a little unique in that you're more into the casting position. So I know, and you already said, you're like, there's a lot of people out there who are interested in casting. I keep an eye on them. but I know there are a lot of people who are interested in doing this type of thing. So, any advice for people who might be interested in dipping their toes into the casting world?
Yeah, absolutely. My piece of advice for any content creators and really any sort of content medium is practice. I mean, when I've even done some stuff where I will watch old like Lorcana tournaments and just cast to myself. And just like try to like start looking at cards and try to spot stuff and be able to recognize things, and you will get better the more you do it. Your next thing will always be better than the thing you're currently working on. So that being said, also, what is it? Perfection is the enemy of good. So at some point you kind of have to be like, all right, let's move on to the next thing and keep going. Or like sometimes you'll have a setback, but you have to know like, hey, I'm going to keep working on it and get better at it. And really, it's all about practicing, and more so than I would say equipment. A lot of people get hung up on like, oh, I've got to buy a really fancy microphone. I've got to buy a really fancy webcam. It's like, no, you don't. I know many people have gotten started in content creation by setting up cameras pointed at a TV. I mean, like, it doesn't matter. As long as your personality is there, as long as your skill and your quality is there, you will get noticed. And you can always you can figure out whenever. But yeah, casting is practicing is incredibly important. And specifically for casting, I would say get used to your own voice. A lot of people hate hearing their own voice. Get past that. You got to get past. I mean, it's one of those things where, everyone hears it. At some point, you're going to be comfortable with yourself. And once you're comfortable with yourself, then you're going to be great online or great on any stream or wherever you may do it. But yeah, I mean, I would say just try to immerse yourself in whatever you are interested in and try to get to the point where it's like, hey, you actually feel confident about saying things. Basically, I know programmers do this thing. It's really clever where you get a rubber duck and you place it next to something, and then you have to explain to the rubber duck what you're doing. And if you could explain to a rubber duck what you're doing and your thought process behind it, it'll make a lot more sense to the general public. So maybe put a rubber duck on your monitor. I don't know. Maybe that'll help you too. But get to the point where, you have to understand your audience, where it's like, hey, maybe you don't get so ingrained in something so like complicated. Maybe make it where it could be interesting for anyone. But again, that kind of stuff takes practice. And I keep coming back to that, but it's because it's the most important thing. You will get better the more you do something. So work on that. Make sure you love whatever you're doing. Don't just do it because like, oh, I can maybe make some money doing this. Like, no, do it because you're passionate about it, and it'll be a lot easier in the long run. So that's my advice. Practice.
So are you telling me that microphone of yours is not responsible for that melodious voice we hear?
It might help, send it across the internet over, into your recording area. But I mean, I've also been doing this for a long time. I've been streaming online now for about 7 years. I've been working on the internet for almost 20. So I've acquired stuff over times to make myself look, a little bit nicer. But even I just have a webcam. I'm not doing anything too fancy, So I've got monitors. I've got a monitor that I've had for like 10 years here. I've patched together stuff. I got Danny DeVito back here watching over me. I mean, it's like there's a lot of stuff going on, but
That's the secret, Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
all right.
He gives me powers and sub sandwiches.
All right. Let's do some listener questions, and we'll head into the ending segments.
Sure.
We don't have a couple, or we don't have a lot. We just have a couple. If you have any questions that you want to ask our podcast guest, you can go into our Discord. We have a section where you can ask questions. So here we go. The first one is not so much a question because you've kind of answered it already, but I want to acknowledge it. It is from our friend Y Breezy, who I think you know as well.
Oh, yeah.
Need to ask Jack about the agonizing pack openings for England so far. Man's like 7 boxes deep in.
You Breezy. Why? You and your Cuzco, man. Again, I did this thing where I was like, when Inklands was coming out, I've become friends with my local game shop, and I was like, hey, what if I open a case the day it comes out, and then I'll do it in your shop. We'll stream from your shop. And they're like, well, we do Magic on Fridays. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to do it. And so set up this thing. I got a case and I got a trove. I'm like, this is going to be great. Had some tech issues, but we figured them out. And then I opened up 4 boxes not a single enchanted. Open up a trove, not a single enchanted. And then since that day, got another box, not an enchanted, and probably another 20 to 30 more random packs, not a single enchanted. So I don't know what my luck is. And even today, I've got a friend who lives in Florida. Actually, he works at Disney, and he's like, hey, they've got packs at World of Disney. Do you want me to grab some for you? He's like, I can get up to 10. I'm like, if they're less than retail, sure. Like apparently they had a weird sale the other day where they were $2 a pack, and I'm like, holy crap. And he's like, no, they're $6 again. I was like, no, don't worry about it. I can get them. I can get them local. Don't worry about shipping. He bought 10 packs. First pack, he got an enchanted. So it's like,
no,
come on. He got an
serious?
enchanted. He got an enchanted, and he got a foil Robin too. He got a foil legendary Robin, and I'm like,
that's like,
come on, man. It's like. So anyway, I've been very this. Hopefully, I'm burning all my bad luck on Inklands. Hopefully, whatever the next set is will be great. Hopefully, whenever they add Tron, whenever they get Tron somehow into Inkland or into Lorcana, that's when hopefully all my luck comes into play. Just give me all Tron. I know it's the live action thing. They've had Tron animated stuff before. That or give me theme park stuff. Oh my gosh, give me Disney theme park stuff. Give me Cinderella's castle, but the park. Give me Space Mountain as a location. Oh my gosh, I would kill for that. Give me Master Gracie as a character from Haunted Mansion. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to see. That's what's got me with my fingers crossed for the future.
Amen,
I think we can technically say that Tron should be in because they did hand draw all the lights and everything, right?
That's true. From 82, they on literal cells, they animated all the lit up
stuff to draw a bunch of things from the original movie. And of course, the second movie was a lot of CGI. That is computer generated drawings.
Oh boy!
So it is technically animated.
True. They had that weird like CGI version of Kurt Russell or Jeff Bridges, excuse me.
Yeah.
And
the de-aged version before the de-aging was done really well.
Just on the wrong side of the uncanny valley. Yeah. Anyway, but give me like a clue, like a little bit, like that, bit. Is that what his name was? He was yes or no. Like that's give me that character. Anyway, Tron is that's my jam. I hope we get Tron at some point.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Okay, next question. So this is from Cameron, the Lorcana curator, who's awesome. He's getting ready to start his own podcast, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. So He said, I'd be interested to hear Jack's opinions on Rooster Teeth shutting down. It's very possible he voiced those opinions elsewhere, but I haven't seen him talk about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So for those of you who might know me, or if you may have seen some of the stuff before, I work for a company called Rooster Teeth. We started back, it'll be 21 years in April, here in the Austin area. And as of last week, I don't know when this released, but as of last week of recording this, our parent company, who's Warner Brothers Discovery, WB Discovery, they've decided to shut us down. So we are going to be closing down in around May. And so, I've been working there full time for almost 15 years. And so it's kind of it's been rough, like the idea of like doing something, and we've had incredible highs, we've had some low lows, but like, it's been something that's been a part of my life for so long, and it's given me so many opportunities to meet so many great people. To really, I've built a very unique set of skills. That sounds very like Liam Neeson. I have a unique set of skills, but like stuff that like I've got to do things and experience things and practice things that so many other people have never had the chance to, and I will forever be in debt for that and grateful for that. It's sad. Like, we've Rooster Teeth we've been having some issues the last few years. And so, we always hoped that we could kind of turn the tide. And, but at some point the entertainment industry has been going through some rough stuff. And so, if you're not making just buku money right now, it's a little tricky to keep the lights on. So, I'm sure Warner Discovery looked at us and they're like, oh, these guys are losing some cash at some point, cut our losses. And so, it's sad. It sucks. Like so many of my friends that I work with out there are in much worse situations than I am. I'm very fortunate. Like we actually got a really nice severance package from Warner Discovery. So with my tenure there being so long, I'm going to be okay. So as far as like, I'm not losing my house or anything like that, but there's a lot of creators there that are newer and younger, and this is hitting them a lot harder, I think, than some of us old hats. And so if you can, please support those people. If you like Rooster Teeth, go support your Blizz, your BKs, all like the BTF crew, like those guys are always, they're so awesome. They're so unique and have such great voices. And I hope that's one thing that they don't get lost up in the mix of this, because everyone I worked with, these newer, younger voices are been so amazing. And so it's been so much fun watching them grow. And I hope they get to continue that journey somewhere else. Like I was very fortunate that I started doing broadcast type stuff through Rooster Teeth, and I grew up through that. But hopefully they will find their own version of that and continue doing what they're doing. And so, but yeah, all in all, it's a sucky thing. It's not cool. A lot of people lost their jobs. And so there's a lot of people looking around for work, and the games industry in general right now is not in a good place. So there's a lot of people looking for work. And so it's kind of this one big massive pool, and everyone's kind of looking for something. So hopefully people will find their ways, find some cool stuff to continue working on, and keep themselves, creatively entertained, and still make some really cool stuff for people to see. So check out Twitch, watch your favorite creators who maybe worked at Rooster Teeth, and follow them, support them however you can. That's all I can ask. And that's me right now. I'm going to be streaming more on Twitch, because it's still a creative outlet for me, and I can still kind of do what I was doing before, just on my own terms now. So but it's sad times, but such is the nature of the creative realm. We had almost 21 years, which is unheard of on the internet. Like, we are dinosaurs on the internet. So to be able to do that for all that time was a lot of fun, and I will miss it for sure.
Very well said. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, let's move into ending segments now. And
Okay.
James, you found an interesting tidbit of news that you wanted to share with us.
That's right. I actually was searching the hashtag on Twitter, as I do, and we found out in an article from Earth Island, I think it's a digital magazine in the UK, that a company called Kohler Paper is the company that provides the paper that is used in the Lorcana trading card game. It's actually a family-owned business that's been around for decades. And if you want to look it up, just search for Earth Island .co.uk and find the Lorcana article. It's a short article. It just mentions that that they wanted a specific feel for the cards, not like a traditional playing card that they normally make. But I think it's pretty cool that they picked this company that's a family-owned company. And you can go check it out. It's just little bits like that are fun to find for Lorcana news.
That's very cool.
There's something to talk about on your streams between games, Jack.
I will be researching more of that. Add that to my book of banter for when we're filling time.
Love it. All right. So any other news? I don't think so.
No, we don't have any OP news. There's nothing really. Lorcana's the big box release happened, and it's available everywhere. About the only thing that is instantly selling out are actually the playmats. Troves and gift sets and booster boxes are all readily available almost everywhere. Packs are sitting on shelves and flying off shelves, but also they put a ton of product out. And so it may look like it's just sitting there, but I think they just put a lot out, and a lot's getting bought. I know I've bought a lot, so
Yes,
I'm not the only one.
All right. So are we ready to move on to Disney Jeopardy? Jack, are you ready?
Let's do it. I love me some Jeopardy. I was a big Alex Trebek fan. Ken Jennings is great too.
Okay, so you're gonna actually answer in the form of a question.
Okay.
A lot of people get caught up on that, so I'm looking forward to this. And because you're such a big Disney parks enthusiast, we actually got Disney parks questions for you.
Oh man.
Right.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to disappoint everyone. This is going to be great.
Okay, for 100, this is the official name of Star Wars Land.
What is Galaxy's Edge?
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, 1 for 1. For
Batu,
200,
but also Galaxy's Edge. That's cool. Whatever.
Yeah. For 200, this is the year that Walt Disney World opened.
Ooh, what is 1950?
Walt Disney World.
World.
Oh,
Disney
World.
World.
That's what is October 1st, 1971?
Nice.
Oh, wow. To the day. I mean, I don't know if the day is accurate, but I'm trusting you. You got the
It
year,
is.
and that's what we were
I'm pretty
after.
sure it is. Because Disneyland is in July. I think July 16th or
July
17th.
17th.
Somewhere in that range.
I was actually there for the 50th
June.
anniversary. I was there on October 1st, 2021, thinking they would do something cool. They did not. There was nothing. They didn't do anything special at all, honestly.
Lame.
Yeah.
July 17th, because that's my son's birthday, so that's etched into my memory. Okay, for 300, this is the ride that you can find at every Disney theme park around the world.
Okay. What is Dumbo? The flying
How?
elephant.
How did you know that?
That's
Nice.
I know theme parks, man. Actually, I had a theme park podcast for a while.
Okay.
We had a podcast called Annual Pass, ran for almost 2 years. So yeah, I've got a little experience with this.
You're flexing here. All right, maybe we needed to up the difficulty. Okay.
Oh no, it's all good.
I'm sure since you work there, this one's going to be a breeze for you. Okay. This is the name of the secret tunnel system located beneath Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom.
Oh man, I didn't know they had a name for it. I didn't work at Magic Kingdom, so I've been in the tunnels before. I'm drawing a blank on that one. I think you got me. I don't know.
James, did you know this one before you saw the answer? Okay.
Yeah.
I probably have heard it on like one of those behind the magic.
Does it end with like aiders, like something elevators or something like that? Or I genuinely don't know this one. Okay.
My ex-wife also did the college program.
Mhm.
So she told me this. Maybe that's why I thought this was like more common than not. But the correct answer is, what are the utilidors?
Okay, there it is. I've heard that term before. I didn't realize that was the secret name for it, though.
All right. Well, you're 3 for 4 so far.
Okay.
For 500 here. This is the Disney park that was the first to open outside of the United States.
Ooh, what is Tokyo Disneyland?
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. I would have guessed Disney Paris.
No,
So I'd
Euro
have been wrong.
Disney, Euro
Probably
Disney
would've
was
too.
back in that was Eisner era. That was 91 or 92, I think. Or no, that because it was around the time they were doing California Adventure. So it would have been like 95, 96, I think was Euro Disney. Yeah, because there was a whole big thing where the Euro Disney Imagineers just had boatloads of money, and I'm talking about Tokyo Disney Sea. That was Tokyo Disney Sea and California Adventure, because Tokyo they had tons of money, and California Adventure they had no money, and so it was a whole thing. Anyway,
Which is why we got a train and a giant bronze sun
you had the Golden Gate Bridge for a little while there.
and the bridge.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to say, I love California Adventure. I'm like, okay, I love the reimagining of it as like Pixar Land, whatever. But I miss like it was an homage to California, like when Walt Disney moved there. I love that feel. So
Can I give you a hot take that might get
Let's
me in
hear it.
trouble? I think Mission Breakout is the best version of Tower of Terror. I think Mission Breakout is so good. It is.
I love
so
Tower of
good.
Terror, but yes, the Mission Breakout is.
Yeah.
We wrote it last April when we took our daughter there. It was like, this is so much more fun than I remember it being as Tower of Terror.
Yeah, the Tower of Terror in Orlando is cool, and it's a unique ride system. The other three Towers of Terror, the one in Japan, the one in Paris, and the one in California, those are all the same system, the same ride system. But the one in Florida, actually, your car moves. Like it actually leaves one chamber and goes into another one. So I don't know if they could ever do an overhaul like Mission Breakout with that one, or it would have to be more elaborate. But you know, I prefer Mission Breakout over the original Tower of Terror. It's cool, but Mission Breakout's so good.
James, are you hating us right now?
No, I love Mission Breakout. I loved them both. I mean, I wasn't like, so tied to it that I was like signing petitions for them not to do it. And I love Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'm okay with it. But I love both rides. So
yeah. Do you are you a fan of the Avengers Campus over there?
I'm a fan of what's there and wish that it was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was my one shock was just how small it is. Like over in front of Webb and everything, it's like this. It's just a narrow pathway, and it's just like in photos they make it look real big, but when you go there, it's like one walking path from like the Spider-Man ride to Mission Breakout, and that's it. And it's like, oh, well, that's
well.
okay.
There was supposed to be that
There's a Quinjet ride, right?
Star Tours-esque ride inside that building that all they do is just have characters stand around on the outside and like walk around.
Yeah,
and do
that
a
is
show.
that is one thing I'll give Disneyland over Disney World is the fact that I feel like when I've been at Disneyland, the characters there are kind of they just sort of wander and they kind of do whatever they want. Whereas like Disney World, it's like, okay, Goofy's gonna go to this spot, he's gonna stand here for 30 minutes and then he's gonna leave. Where it's like I went to Disneyland and I was in Galaxy's Edge and Ray and Chewbacca were just walking around and just like pretending they were just part of the crowd, and it was awesome. It was so cool. I was like, that's cool. I want more of that stuff. I want more of this, like kind of, and like Chewbacca went up to like a ship and just started beating on a ship with a hammer, and it was like, this is great. So anyway, more stuff like that.
One of my favorite ones is Gaston walking around Fantasyland and just being Gaston to every guest.
That's great.
It's great.
That's awesome.
All right, before we go too much farther into the weeds here, Jack, thank you for coming on. It's been a delight, a pleasure. I feel illuminated on all things Disney parks, Disney running, Disney marathon, and like even casting. So if people want to find you, if they want to reach out to you, where can they find you? How can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it. If you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter or I guess X now. It's Jack_P. Or on Instagram, I am Jack Pattillo, JackPattillo, 2 T's, 2 L's. And on Twitch, I'm at twitch.tv/Jack Pattillo. It's JackPattillo. I stream a lot of Minecraft and a lot of other stuff over there. Just real like kind of chill type games. So go check me out, follow me, and hopefully you'll see me casting. And I do post all my archive stuff on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Jack Pattillo. So if you miss any of my live streams or anything like that, I post them all over there, including some of the casting stuff I've done. So go check that out.
Absolutely. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to Jack and Liam and Aaron casting events, that would be a great opportunity to go check that out. So if you liked what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter as Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere online at Dan Regal. And thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.